What is up, players? It's WarbossTae up in this mug. Warhammer Games Workshop, they previewed over the weekend Lords of the Mortal Realms, and it was a huge drop of new content and preview pictures for Warhammer Age of Sigmar, Warhammer Underworlds, and the much anticipated Warhammer Quest Cursed City. There is too much to unpack in one single video, so I'm going to be breaking it down in tiny little segments, and the first thing we're going to take a look at here is the Light of the Lumineth. Last year, a new faction came to the Mortal Realms with giant celestial beasts. Yeah, big, weird, very, very high fantasy, a la never-ending story looking creatures. Hollow suits of armor and living mountains. Yeah, very high fantasy, big concepts. They really rolled the dice with this one, and I think the Lumineth are, you know, I was a little hesitant. And when I saw them, I was slightly put off by them. And you know what? I've just come to accept that this is the way that they're going. The High Elves, the aesthetic of the old High Elves is completely out the window. They are completely bonkers looking now. Okay, the ranks of your Lumineth armies are set to swell thanks to a whole host of new models. The Venari Bladelords, look very much like the old Sword Masters, but they are dual-wielding. That guy was dual-wielding, and they are also posed really nicely. Look at that light blue for the legs there, and the sleeves on the shirts as well. These are totally meant to look like the old Sword Masters, but because they're on round bases, they don't have to be constricted to forming up in a regiment. They can go all out with the poses, the legs spread apart or leaning in different directions, the swords angled up and at a diagonal. So they can really be creative with how they pose these models. They don't have to worry about the swords bumping into the models next to them, and you can really see them taking that initiative and running with it. Some of them have back banners. That's kind of reminiscent of the old samurai. Reminds me of those old samurai that would run around with those back banners. And they also have some scale armor that's hanging down, not in a square pattern like you see a lot of chainmail off of like chaos figures or other models, but they look like almost like icicles or triangles hanging down at the shoulders and also on the loin guard. Very cool. Just in case a unit of elves that are talented in the art of the sword doesn't give you the warming hit of nostalgia that it should, there are also the Venari Shardshard. Shard Ballistas. I like that they're going with an off-white color for the clothes. The clothes are blue rather than the old High Elf white. And look at the clothes for these. They're like a bone light beige color. Interesting. They do not look like fun to paint. They look like they're going to be very finicky and have a lot of detail in the little bits. That's the thing with any elf model. You want those clean lines. You want to paint nice, smooth color transitions. And they are the bane of new beginning painters who just want to get the models on the field and are not that skilled with a paintbrush. So we will see how these go over with the painting community, especially those who are new to the hobby or not used to painting these smooth, large areas. For those who prefer to raise monuments to Teclis, here is the Shrine Luminor that can purify even the most corrupt of battlefields. We saw this in the video. What a wackadoo, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs piece of scenery. Looks absolutely insane. It's a floating giant bonsai tree with a shrine on it, and more bonsai trees sticking out the back, and waterfalls. The water, I was surprised in the video, they make the water more of a feature. You don't really notice it in this picture. You really see and take notice of the shrine, the way they framed it. But the waterfalls look really nice, and they didn't even look like they painted gloss effects. I would totally have done gloss effects and some foam at the ends. There are some great companies that come out with sea foam products where you just dip it on the edge and it recreates that foaming water luminous look. And but the color transitions on that the painters did from the blue to the white to show this cascading waterfall look really splendid. I cannot wait to try my hand at painting that. It just looks like such a beautiful set piece. To lead your new units into battle as a selection of heroes, these Lumineth add a unique set of magical and martial skills to your army, including the Huracan Spirit of the Wind, which is an alternate build for Sevireth, who we showed off last month. Yeah, that's that flying fox guy. Oh, this guy looks so good, though. I think this is a character, but imagine if you had a unit of these mounted elves on these crazy beasts. Wow, that looks just fantastic. Look at the colors, that smooth transition on the cloak, and the beast is just this beautiful bone color that transitions into the darker beige and that lighter bone and ivory by the face. Oh, I'm getting bad memories, though, of Last Jedi. but yeah, I love, man, they look beefy. They don't look like huge war horses all weighed down with armor. They look lithe, but also powerful. They look fast and sleek, and I like the motion of the tail. See how it matches the banner on the back of this guy's cape, as well as the crest of top of his helmet. Everything flows together, and you see the crest, the ends of the crest is mimicking the flying tassels. It all sweeps in one way to look like the wind is blowing in one direction. Look, you can even see that. Look behind the right leg of the creature on the masonry. You could see those little wheat fronds or weeds are blowing in the wind in the same direction. Really cool, especially because, look, they put static grass. It looks like they use different kinds of static grass to imitate a very rich and verdant field, along with some moss on the masonry itself. That's different. You can tell they really went to town with these. Oh, okay, yeah, these are the twins. That's a weird, it's a weird concept, but I like the owl, and there's a lot of motion again to make it look like there's wind blowing the capes and the tassels and the hair. It's just kind of odd. It looks like she's stepping on his head. But what is that, like that sun design? That could be a crest that's attached to his back, but interesting. I like how Teclis and Tyrion are up to their old rivalry. And Tyrion is training that guy with the sword, and Teclis is training the wizard on top. Yeah, wow, look at this. This is pretty cool. This is a battle mage. He's got kind of like a staff for casting spells, but he's also got a sword. And again, with the little wheat fronds blowing in the wind in the same direction as the tassel. This guy's terrific. Look at this wizard. He's reading this floating piece of parchment. That's beautiful. And I don't know, is he floating on the ground himself, or is he just wearing some really high heels? What's that about? It's for his drag show later. All right, next picture. Look at that. It's an elf with the horns are mimicking, I think, some kind of beast, magical, fictional, mythical creature. And he's riding a cloud. A whole new world. Look, he's got a bonsai tree down there with some more wheat fronds. Interesting. They must make a lot of bread. Wow, look at the staff. You don't really notice it because just how weird this model looks, but his staff has an almost like a rectangular block of what looks to be obsidian or jade, or some other kind of magical crystal at the top of it. That's pretty cool. I like how they painted it, like dark stone. And again, with the different types of static grass. This is very good. This is creative for Games Workshop. They're showing you that you don't need just one type of static grass to glue on the base of your models if you're doing the standard, like, blasted wasteland battlefield. They're showing that you can create these verdant, very lush-looking bases by using the brown colors, the brown tones for the dirt, and then building up to the different shades of green and the different textures of static grass. Oh, look at this banner man. Ooh, that is some work. I think it's molded, so you're not going to have to freehand that. It looks like it's molded and sculpted in a way that you can do a lot of glazing and shading and different techniques to get those different tones. Like, look how smooth that color transition is. There's that figure in the front, in the foreground, that very light color, and then in the background you can see the sun, the setting sun or the rising sun, whatever it's supposed to be, is darker and more red toward the bottom, or brownish towards the bottom and rich, and then it creates a beautiful contrast for his body to be standing out against the background. Looks like you're going to be using a lot of bleached bone or wraith bone as your primer color, and then you're going to be blocking in the other colors if you're going to be painting the what's known now as the classic way. Or if you're doing contrast, it might even be easier to do contrast. What the heck? Oh no. What is that? It's a mess. I get what they're going with, Spirit of the Wind, but I think that magical vortex effect that they've got, I don't really care for it. I think it would have almost been better if all they had were just swirls of his whatever cloth that is that he's wearing, just flipping through the wind and swirling in a vortex, kind of like the those if you watch those Chinese kung fu movies, they have the water sleeves, and sometimes they use those in the fight scenes where their sleeves get really, really long and they use them to whip around. Oh, they used that in the Mulan remake. Jet Li was using his water sleeves to do some fancy moves at the end of that movie. I kind of purged all memory of that from my mind. But there are other movies where they use water sleeves as weapons, and I feel like it would have been a cool effect to have the cloth swirling in a vortex around him to show that the wind, the magical wind, is blowing his clothes through the air and lifting him up off the ground without actually showing magical vortex, because it doesn't really, I don't know, it doesn't look great. Other than that, that model looks terrific and weird, and I don't know, I think it just depends on what I'm in the mood for, you know? Like, some of this looks great any day of the week, but some of this I would laugh at and just boo any other day because it's just so wild and ridiculous. We'll be taking a closer look at all of these outstanding models as we get closer to their release date, but we just had to call out the twins, Elania and Elathor. These youthful prodigies have caught the eyes of their elven gods, with Teclis favoring Elania and Tyrion tutoring Elathor. Yeah, that's right. Hopefully they won't pick up any of their teacher's bad habits. Alongside these new units comes an updated battle tome for the Lumineth Realm Lords, packed with lore, war scrolls, and allegiance abilities for the followers of Teclis. If you've already taken the plunge into the world of Elfkind and picked up a copy of the first battle tome, Lumineth Realm Lords, you can get all of the war scrolls for the new units in the Broken Realms Teclis book. There's never been a better time to be a follower of the Archmage, and Teclis is going to need all the help he can get. Okay, so that's the end of the Lumineth Realm Lords. Overall, as a sneak peek preview of all the sculpts they've got coming down for the Lumineth Realm Lords, I'm very impressed. They showed a huge range, right, from this big piece of scenery to the troops being the these blade masters, whatever they're called, Bladelords, and to the artillery piece here, the ballista, then down to the characters. My favorite's got to be the wizard who's just studying his paper. Like this just looks so great with the lines from his wild hat to his staff with the weird purple lantern, then just him reading this floating piece of parchment. I just love that. That looks so great. This just looks wild. And of course you've got Bannerman and floating furry guy. So I think overall they've really given us an idea of what they're going with here. When they kind of stealth dropped the original box set of the Lumineth Realm Lords, it was a little out of left field, right? The cavalry and the bow and arrow guys and the spear guys, there weren't too many characters to really wrap your heads around what they were going for with this army. And I think now we really get a full sense of the aesthetic for them. And I'm excited. I'm a little bit turned around on my original impression of them, which was very negative. Now it's a little bit more cautiously optimistic that maybe I need to just get my hands on one of these models and see if I can paint it up the way that they look to really get a sense for how they feel. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this look at the reveal of the Lumineth Realm Lords. New models coming in from the Games Workshop preview over this past weekend. Stay tuned. We're going to be looking at the amazing Warhammer Quest Cursed City, the new warbands for Warhammer Underworlds, and all sorts of other stuff. We hope you enjoy this video. Don't forget to hit that like button before you go, and we'll see you in the next one.
What up, players? Gandalf the Grey, up in Dismal. Support WarbossTae Studios. For now, more than ever, Hobbiton is in desperate need of heroes. Heroes like Daniel Sprinkle, Scrag Fist, Brad 94H, Pigs, Dicey Guy, Play It Painted, and Logan Swanson.